Good afternoon, Your Excellency. First of all, thank you so much for your time today, and it's such an honor to meet you. My name is So-hyun Park, and today, as a student facing high school graduation and student who wants to be a diplomat in the future, I'd like to ask you for advice about the university majors. I know that it's not necessary to study political science or diplomacy in order to be a diplomat. And I heard that you studied German and French at Oxford.
Yes.
So I want to know what kind of majors or subjects would be helpful for being the diplomat or for the real work.
Thank you very much. So what kind of majors are useful for being a diplomat? I think I have to be really careful in answering this question because I am sure the answer is different in every country. It's a little bit different. So the answer that you might get to say, what is it best to do to become a German diplomat, may be different from the answer, what does it take to become a Korean diplomat? And so I'm hesitant to answer purely from my experience as a British diplomat. I think the British system and the British attitude towards recruiting new staff is very much out there on the end of the spectrum, which says we actually do not mind too much what majors people have done at university. What we really care about is how quickly people can think, how quickly they can solve problems, how effectively they can describe problems, in diplomacy, how effective they are at negotiation, how effective they are at persuading people, at these arts that I was talking about, of understanding the other person's position and through describing the benefits for them, persuading them over to your side. So I think there are a lot of skills which we are looking for in our diplomats, on which it really doesn't matter whether you have studied physics or geology or theology or Latin and Greek or French and German is my case, or physics or whatever. As I say, what we're looking for is people who can understand difficult issues, who can make quick and good decisions and so on. And that's what we're looking for when we interview people. We're looking for people who can convince us that they can do that. Now, that's describing the British system. It may well be, and I do know that there are other systems where there is much more of a premium put on people. I mean, I remember, for example, when I worked in Japan, I hardly met a single diplomat who had not studied either economics or international law. There used to be, I'm not sure about now, there used to be quite a similar picture in Germany as well. And some of the German diplomats would say, "Ha, you just studied German to become a diplomat." That's rubbish. That is. And so there was a feeling that you had to sort of have these kind of very relevant disciplines behind you in order to work in the system. So I think there's no substitute for finding out from within the system that you want to work in, what is it that they place big emphasis on, so that will tell you that, if it tells you that there's nobody in the Korean diplomatic service who has graduated in biochemistry, I'm sure there is actually, but if it tells you that, then that gives you some kind of pointer. So it's worth doing your research to say, okay, what are they looking for? But even when you've done that, I do think it's useful also just to think in terms that I've just described, that it's not just about the discipline. It's about your decision-making ability. It's about your ability to understand complex problems quite quickly, your ability to explain them, and your ability to persuade people, to influence them. Because that, crucially, is what diplomacy is really all about. It's about persuading and influencing. And it's about persuading people to think, it's about my persuading you to be convinced that what you want, or rather what I want, is now what you want as well. And you may start the conversation thinking, no, I don't want that. And if I'm good enough, And if I'm influential enough and if I'm persuasive enough, but I will also guarantee you I will be honest as well, I can succeed in an outcome which says what I want to happen becomes also what you want to happen. So think about how you develop those skills as well, and that I think will really strengthen your chances of a good, successful career in diplomacy.